My presentation is quite basic. It's not really about Bitcoin citadels, although I am a big fan of that topic. But being in the Bitcoin brokerage business, the question that I find most frequent from people who are quite new to Bitcoin is still the same old: how do I buy Bitcoin? So, and a lot of the time, there's lots of scare there in the air because there's actually a lot of news going around that people get scammed in Bitcoin deals. They get bamboozled. So I just want to show you how, if you really wanted to get scammed, I'm going to show you how to get bamboozled during an OTC deal. So first of all, let me just cover the very basics of how people transact, how they actually buy Bitcoin these days. And we will start with online exchanges. Everybody knows those platforms, but online exchanges are usually not recommended by us to people who want to buy Bitcoin, especially large amounts, for a very simple fact that they are mostly platforms for professional traders. And a lot of people that we deal with on a daily basis don't have any knowledge of all these advanced trading techniques. They don't have the time to study the interfaces of online exchanges. So what they really need is just a simple way to buy. So then we move to these OTC desks and brokers. And I like to distinguish between the two because, first of all, the OTC desks, we consider OTC desks is these platforms that allow buyer and seller, similar to exchanges, to come together and do a transaction in a safe manner, with an OTC desk being in the middle. So OTC desks, essentially, they facilitate transactions between buyers and sellers, but those transactions don't go into the order book of an exchange. But it is a great business, additional business for exchanges, and that's why some of them have quite successful OTC desks. Kraken is a great example of that. But brokers, they are a little bit different. Brokers, they have access to liquidity. A lot of the time, they have liquidity partners that are spread out around the world, and they help buyers or sellers access that liquidity by acting as an intermediary. But the buyer or seller does business directly with the broker. They don't have to meet the other party. So the broker is the counterparty in trade. And then you have these peer-to-peer markets, and a great example would be HODL and Local Bitcoins and Paxful. They're all peer-to-peer markets, which also facilitate deals between private individuals. Usually these peer-to-peer markets act as escrow providers. So they kind of provide this additional safety with the latest technology being the multi-sig escrow that HODL provides, which allows for a lot safer environment for such deals. And the way you get bamboozled is actually, I would say, 90% in private deals, which is the last point here in the slide. So what are these private deals? First of all, of course, as the name implies, the buyer and the seller transact privately. They do not go to any exchange. They simply meet and they transact privately without any platform. Then usually these deals are accompanied by a bunch of representatives. A buyer may have a representative, a seller may have a representative, and a lot of the time these representatives can also be lawyers or some law firms. At the same time, these deals take advantage of the services that are called escrow agents that essentially can be either law firms or specific companies that provide escrow services to clients. What they do is they take possession of funds of both Bitcoin from the seller and fiat money from the buyer temporarily until the exchange actually is done and until the rate is locked. And yes, as the last point says, sometimes it is also accompanied by bodyguards, because a lot of the time these transactions are actually for large amounts. And if you know anything about deals in places like Dubai, that's what I'm talking about. And by the way, everything I'm saying here is actually based on experience. So I'm describing it to you so that you can hear it from the horse's mouth. I have been there. I have seen these deals happen, and I was also in the middle of a deal that was about to turn into a scam. Gladly, we figured it out during the deal, and it was a fun experience and a great learning experience for us. But nevertheless, I would like to share this experience with you so that you can avoid the same thing. So what are the signs of a scammer? What are the signs of the swindler that actually wants to swindle you out of your money? First of all, it's the huge amounts that are proposed. When I got a deal proposal, I was told that someone wants to buy 100,000 Bitcoins. And obviously, this is such a huge amount of Bitcoins, especially at these prices, that someone who is very inexperienced, but who is new to the market and wants to make some money would be extremely happy to hear this. And this is how the scammers work. They get you by your own greed. So you're essentially anchored with this huge amount because you do your math in the head and you're like, wow, I can make even if I charge the very minimum 1%, I can make 1,000 coins. I'm going to be super rich after the deal. And this is how they get you. They get your interest this way. And then what happens is that they start asking for all kinds of documents. And this is a favorite strategy of a swindler. They want to get your personal identifying information. They want to get your KYC. So this is what phishing means. Sometimes phishing is all about your personal identifying information. Once they get your passport and your maybe corporate structure and everything, they may leave, and then they just use that information with another victim by pretending actually to represent you, or they may switch to the next step with you as well. Now, the most dangerous part of this type of transaction is actually a personal meeting. This is where they get you. So a lot of the time they will insist on a personal meeting. In our case, for example, what we had was a discussion about purely non-physical transaction, all based on wire transfers. Everything is online, but after several calls, at the very end, last minute, they just decided to propose a personal meeting and said, well, before we start transacting, let's actually meet face to face. And we will give you KYC in person, and we will also, shake hands and look each other in the eye, and everything will be great that way. So personal meetings are there, and I would say they are the most dangerous ones because you actually sacrifice your physical security when you go there. Now, another thing about these deals, and I think some people here may have heard of this, of course, there's many anecdotes there, is the many intermediaries. A buyer can have an intermediary who is introduced by an intermediary who was introduced by another intermediary, and the seller can have 5 more intermediaries. And it doesn't only complicate the communication between two parties, it also increases transaction costs because obviously every single intermediary wants a cut, and sometimes they're not really shy, and they ask for quite a lot. And the last one is they want you to use an unknown escrow or an unknown law firm to actually do the transaction. So it's not going to be direct transaction. The buyer is not going to send you the fiat to your bank account and then you're going to send them Bitcoin. No, they want you to use an escrow firm for this transaction. And let me tell you, a lot of these escrow firms are actually pretty fake. They're not real escrow firms, or if they are, they were set up specifically for these types of transactions so that they can disappear into thin air when they actually get both Bitcoins and fiat in their accounts. So this is a red flag. These are all the red flags that you have to pay attention to when you are considering. So what is the road to getting scammed? What is the road to getting wrecked? First of all, the anchor, high amount. You have to be interested in that deal. Then the deal comes with a document package. There's all kinds of documents that they require from you. NDAs, memorandum of understanding. They do KYC and all kinds of stuff. Because look at it this way: if they don't walk away with your Bitcoins or with your cash, at the very least, they can walk away with your personal identifying information, with your real documents. They don't have to go to the black market and buy fake documents, which a lot of them do, but they can also walk away with actual real documents that they can use in future cases. And then they require a personal meeting with you, and this is where you unfortunately get wrecked a lot of the time. There have been lots of headlines with people getting injured, getting beaten up, or getting a full duffel bag of fake cash. So this is where the disaster happens. And I highly recommend that anytime someone asks you for a real meeting, for a personal meeting, especially for a large amount, you rethink your strategy. It's really unsafe out there. And the higher Bitcoin is in price, in value, the higher chance that you will get scammed. How do you avoid scams? Well, unfortunately, I understand that we're all trying to build a trustless, global, decentralized peer-to-peer commerce here, but trust is still required here in this business. And you may argue against that, but even if you go to the platform where you require least trust, let's say HODL, great platform that we use ourselves as well, but you still have to trust at least the platform itself, right? And when you go to an exchange, obviously you have to trust the exchange that they will honor the Bitcoin IOUs that you store on the exchange when you trade, or the fiat IOUs that when you send fiat there. So trust is still required, and that's why my personal recommendation is that deal only with people and brands that you actually know, that people recommend, that people have good feedback about. Don't go and deal with some anonymous or people or some newcomers that promise you lots of riches, great rates, and all kinds of other promises that are not realistic at all. Also, it's always a good way to start small. If you want to buy, if you're a high net worth individual and you want to buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin from a brokerage firm, start small. You don't have to send a whole million, obviously. You can set up a relationship by sending $5,000-$10,000 worth of your fiat, and essentially buy that amount of Bitcoin. See how the process works. See if you like how they communicate with you. See if you like how they set up the rates and all that stuff. And then you can proceed and grow that relationship into something more sustainable, something more long-term. Obviously, if you have a doubt that your broker or exchange can actually physically deliver Bitcoin to you, to your wallet directly, then do not deal with such a place. As a broker, for example, we always recommend that our clients store their own Bitcoin. So we insist on physical delivery. We insist that we have to deliver Bitcoin into their wallet. And if there is a broker that, asks you to keep your Bitcoins that you just bought on their platform for any reason, you have to be really skeptical about them. And then with the brokers that you trust, you don't really have to use the escrow an escrow service, because they are essentially an escrow service. So when you deal with a broker, as I said, a broker is a place that has access to multiple sources of liquidity. So essentially, they escrow your Bitcoins from those places of liquidity, and then they redirect those Bitcoins into your wallet directly. But if you do insist on an escrow service, I highly recommend using a multi-signature escrow. The reason why I recommend it is because by using a multi-signature escrow, you can make sure that none of the parties, neither the buyer, and either the seller, can actually run away with Bitcoins, because Bitcoins are locked in a multi-sig wallet, and they are released only when all the conditions of the trade are met. So again, HODL is a great example here. So This is how you actually don't get scammed, because now you learn how you actually can get scammed. And the purpose of this presentation was to show you that from my experience, there's still a lot of scams going on, and even personally, I get a lot of messages on Telegram and elsewhere from anonymous people, who delete their Telegram accounts every day about these deals. It's just there, and because I have experience from, I've been trading since 2013, doesn't mean that many other people have the same experience. And unfortunately, when the bull runs come, everybody just FOMOs into Bitcoin, and a lot of people lose money simply because they don't know the basics. And like I said, I'm really a big fan of talking about citadels, but sometimes it's really good to get back to the basics and explain to you how simple things like buying Bitcoin work, so you don't make mistakes that we have made in the past. This is it from me. Thank you very much.